Hello, students. As part of our study of history, we're going to be examining the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And the Meditations contain important life lessons, also connects to our study of history going back to ancient Rome from 7th grade year. And for this year, you're actually going to be given a copy of the Meditations that you're going to keep. So you'll be manipulating this, you'll be highlighting, you'll be making some annotations. And we're going to be doing a series of discussions based on the Meditations. And the discussion preparation is really important so that we can have meaningful discussion when we sit down to study it as a group. So we'll look at our Meditations annotation guide. The Socratic method is named after the Greek philosopher Socrates. Socratic circles are a learning activity emphasizing dialogue between students through inquiry. Students pose questions and offer answers to promote critical thinking and develop or share new ideas. Our reading of Marcus Aurelius' Meditations will be broken up into 4 sections: books 1 through 4, books 5 and 6, books 7 through 9, and books 10 through 12. Students can and should write on their hard copy of the reading, but this year you're actually getting to keep the real deal, not just a photocopy. So as you're doing the reading, so the first reading is focusing on books 1 through 4, and I'll show you what pages those can be found on in just a moment. You're going to be completing these 5 steps. So you're going to read it, you're going to circle words that you do not know, and define all of them, underline the word in the margin, and write the definition next to it. In the margins, write down thoughts, ideas, and general questions about the reading. So a general question is just like a simple question that you have, like you're pondering something, or it brings about a really simple, straightforward question that you want to note in the margin by the area that's prompting you to have that thought or that particular question. Underline or highlight portions of the reading which stand out to you as being particularly important, useful, or interesting. So underlining, highlighting. Some students last year, they would highlight certain concepts or that fit into a certain category, one color, so you can get really creative in terms of your highlight colors if you're interested in using multiple colors. And then ultimately, number 5, you are going to create 5 discussion questions and record them in the space provided. Discussion questions are questions with no right answer, are open-ended, and could be discussed for an extended period of time. So we have a general example here of some of these types of questions. So a general question, what day of the week is it? Right? As I'm making this video, it is Thursday. That's a question that is not likely to have an in-depth discussion. An example of a discussion question could be, what day of the week is best? Perhaps, you're really excited for weekends and you love Fridays. Maybe you love school and you think Monday's the best day. Perhaps you're a big NFL football fan and you think Sunday's the best day because you get to watch lots of football. Or maybe there's another reason for another day. Taco Tuesday, you love tacos. So potentially, this kind of question here could actually prompt a group to have an in-depth discussion. So the first question is unlikely to spark an in-depth discussion. However, the second question could easily be discussed for 10 minutes and would likely lead to very different ideas and viewpoints being shared. And then we have some things to keep in mind which you should review for the day of the discussion itself. So the beautiful part about this kind of learning and this kind of discussion is that it can and should be student-driven, and that you'll have either myself or another educator who's going to come in and join your group for the discussion. We're going to split the class into 2 halves, one led by me and one led by somebody else. The discussion ultimately really can be and should be driven by you, the students, so long as you do these steps. So you're going to be writing all over this. And I know you might not be used to writing in books, but as you get older, I really enjoy writing in books. So obviously only write in books that you own, but this is a book that you are getting as an advanced history student at our school, and this is going to be yours to keep. So the first thing we're going to write in it is our names. So if you open the front cover here, you get to the part that says Meditations. You're going to put your first and last name right here in the top right-hand corner. The Meditations, we've already kind of discussed the introduction to the Meditations and why we're reading it. This book has a lengthy introduction portion here. It's about 60 pages. It talks about the life of Marcus Aurelius. It gives you some interesting information here. But I'm going to have you skip the introduction for now, since we've already introduced it in class. You can come back to it at a later date But for the discussion portions, we're going to focus on the contents of what he wrote as opposed to the introduction telling us about his life. So you can flip over to all the way to book 1, which is actually not, it doesn't have a page number, but it's page number 5. And you can, if you flip over, it's actually page, that's 654. So this is page 3 here, but you can find it like that. On this page, you need to note a few things right now. I want you to title both sides of these pages discussion questions. When you're creating your discussion questions for the first set of readings, I want you to write them here so that as I'm reviewing your annotations in your particular copy of the book, I know exactly where I can find your discussion questions. And then also when we go and have the discussion, you know exactly where you can find your discussion questions. This should make it very easy to pose questions to people within your group. So discussion questions at the top of both sides here, and then your discussion questions can be recorded here. I also want you to note the page numbers. For our first Socratic Circle discussion, we are reading, and books 1 through 4 contain the pages 5 through 49. So note that for the first reading, this is the prep work that we're focusing on. And you're gonna, for pages 5 through 49, you're gonna complete these 5 steps. So you're gonna be doing a fair amount of writing in this. All your writing, all your prep work should be done in the book. Okay, don't keep a side notebook. We're going to be manipulating the text here. This page here, these 2 pages are going to be focused on for our discussion questions. So when you create a discussion question, it'll be noted here. You should note the page number. So for example, this is an example of a discussion question which I created based on the reading. And we're always going to have 5 or more, so this will be my first one. So Marcus states on page 6, behave in a conciliatory way when people who have angered or annoyed us want to make up. Why is this good advice? How could it affect our relationships with others and how others view us? So this is a question that I think is particularly interesting that I might want to pose to a group that was discussing this reading. So I've noted it here. I've also noted the page number. So you should note the page number that you're getting the question from, that's prompting you to create the question. That way, during the discussion, we, as the discussers, could actually flip over to page 6 and take a look at what you're referring to. And you can see I've made notes, and this is just a snapshot. You're going to be manipulating the text quite a bit. But this is the portion here. I even put in the question number 1 referring to this part. So I could also direct my group as, hey, this is the text that I'm referring to, and then that would allow them to see what notes they might have regarding these areas. But again, lots of manipulation of the text. The other thing I want you to keep in mind is that the meditations are best read small portions at a time. It's not one of those books where you really want to sit down and necessarily just read it cover to cover. It's fine if you do, and if you're really into it and you want to go ahead. But what you want to avoid doing is procrastinating, waiting until a few days before the discussion and then trying to knock it all out. It's not going to benefit you as much. So you really want to take a page a day, one page a day, doing your annotations, doing your thoughts, defining the terms that you're unfamiliar with, doing your highlights, and that would allow you to really kind of think deeply about it as opposed to just grind through it. So try to envision this more like this is kind of like brushing our teeth. We do it every day. We do it for a short period of time. It is important. Right? It'd be horrible to have to brush our teeth for like 3 hours. Like you go say 6 weeks without brushing your teeth and you're like, I'm going to brush them for 3 hours after just to make up for it. That wouldn't be a very good idea. And that's how we want to approach reading the meditations. Diligently, consistently, daily, 1 page a day will put you on the perfect pace for the discussion, and it'll allow you to really have a meaningful experience with it, and it will make it feel like a more achievable task than opposed to trying to go through it all at once. All right, I look forward to seeing your annotations. I look forward to seeing your progress. I will be doing periodic checks on your progress, and I'm expecting to see you progressing at a rate that would equate out to approximately 1 page per day. All right, I hope you enjoy the meditations. Bye for now.